Welcome back to NYSE TV Live. Earlier this summer, the New York Stock Exchange teamed up with cybersecurity company Night Dragon for its Cyber Live from New York event filled with conversations about the latest changes across the industry and New York's place in the cyber landscape. J.D. Durkin sat down with Claroty Chief Security Officer Grant Geyer about the importance of cyber physical systems and what Claroty is doing to emerge as a leader in the space. Check it out.
So we're so used to thinking about IT systems, whether it's servers or networking equipment or laptops, but what we don't realize is so many of the technologies that empower the Industrial Revolution and the digital transformation actually exist in networks, and they can have one foot in the digital world and another foot in the physical world. So think about water treatment facilities, think about power utilities in the power grid, or even production lines on a manufacturing plant. These all receive digital controls in order to make changes to ensure you can optimize operations and optimize productivity. So they're part and parcel to the modern organization and incredibly important to gain a competitive advantage and provide societal benefits.
Talk to me about some of the biggest challenges that you face currently in your role at Claroty, and how are you and your team directly trying to always stay ahead of the curve of the ever-evolving door of threats?
Well, there are so many threats that are trying to take advantage of what's of Industry 4.0. So if you think about it, in the old days, there was something called a Purdue model, which is basically a layered defense of industrial organizations to make sure that nobody could get to the production line. Well, now with the cloud and the need for predictive analytics, just-in-time ordering systems, there are connections being punched from the on-prem production line all the way up to the public cloud. And this, if not properly protected, provides hackers a direct line straight through to the production line. Now, what's important about this is that our adversaries are actively trying to exploit these attacks. Just this morning, there was news that a few days ago, a Norwegian dam had its valves opened up by somebody actually going through remote access and connecting it with a basic username and password. And while the damage wasn't significant, only about 500 liters per second exited the dam for about a span of 4 hours, this points to a much greater potential threat. There are over 92,000 dams in the United States. Any one of these could cause great harm to our communities or to the environment if not properly protected.
So in that, let's say this hypothetical, the Norwegian dam or any other that could be subject to attack, what would you say is the best course, the best action to move forward to best protect themselves from that exact type of threat that you're describing?
You know, people talk a lot about the future of AI and sophisticated attacks. This was simply having a default password on a remote access system that allowed an attacker to open up valves. So much of these OT environments or these cyber physical system environments are deployed by people that are thinking about sustainability or optimizing efficiency for a smart building, and they're not thinking through the cybersecurity implications. So my recommendation for IT leaders and security and risk leaders or boards of directors is just to conduct a basic assessment to understand what potential entry points an attacker could use to get access to the crown jewels. And this could be millions of dollars of downtime for production lines if ransomware were able to get into one of these networks.
I think it's safe to say it's one thing for private companies to be able to take these threats more seriously. It's a different challenge altogether for major governments and policymakers and lawmakers to address these concerns head on. What more do you think needs to be done in the government policy space for any individual government or governments around the world collaborating in good faith with one another to address these national security risks?
Just 1 month ago, the NSA and a bunch of its international alliance partners issued an advisory saying that for the past 2 years, Russia has been conducting reconnaissance operations on logistics companies and warehousing companies, bridges, tunnels, roads, maritime industry, in order to understand weapon shipments and supply shipments to Ukraine. What's super interesting is that Russia also broke into IoT surveillance cameras, connected surveillance cameras, to understand at what point trucks were passing border crossings. So this information is not only important for espionage, it's also important and can help drive kinetic attacks against supply chains. This is just one example of how our adversaries are trying to take advantage of these chinks in the armor of cyber-physical system security. So the bottom line is every government in the world has really strong protections and really strong measurements around how they're protecting IT. A lot of times OT and IoT is out of scope. And so I think that public policy makers need to be aware of the potential risks in the physical world associated with attacks like this. And there's smart legislation that has already been put forward, for example, in the John McCain National Defense Authorization Act, to help ensure that we get an understanding of the attack surface area for our military bases.
How big is the CPS security market? And talk to me about how you think Claroty's unique strategy in that arena uniquely positions you to always be a leader in the cybersecurity space.
A lot of times, people don't think about IT security as a single market. It's a collection of markets. Think about GRC technologies, endpoint security, firewalls. The same is true of in CPS security. We estimate that in the areas that we're focused in at Claroty, it's about a $40 billion market and growing pretty significantly. Our strategy is to think about how we can expand into adjacent areas that can solve more of those other problems outside of what we're doing now in CPS security and providing secure remote access to third parties.
Thanks to Claroty's Chief Strategy Officer Grant Geyer and JD Durkin for that interview.